Well, welcome in to another broadcast of the Johnny Torch program. It's been quite a while, hasn't it? Because unfortunately, I've been laid low with a common malady known as the common cold. Those summer colds, I tell you, quite something, and it really knocked the wind out of me for probably a month now. I think if you listen to the end of my Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny review, you could tell that there was a cough coming on. It was kind of a serious thing that kind of morphed into, after a couple of weeks, a stuffy nose problem, which I don't think I'm over yet. So if I sound a little nasal, a little stuffy, apologies for the audio. But I felt well enough. I wanted to make sure we got a video out sometime this week. I said I was going to do one on the weekend. It's the summer. It's tough. I had to do a barbecue and so forth, and I kind of took some time for myself this weekend to enjoy the summer weather because, believe it or not, we're kind of halfway through the summer, right? We're probably more than halfway through technically. Um, so you got to enjoy those nice days while they last. Now, the only problem, the only problem I'm facing now is I get concerned whenever I'm doing a live broadcast in the summer because my computers have a habit of dying in the middle of the summer because I think I bought more laptops in August than any human being alive because the heat sort of affects them. And I'm here up in stately Torch Tower where it's very warm, very hot. Even today, even though today is sort of like in the 70s, don't let that fool you. It gets very, very hot up here. And I don't know if you could tell, but I had to turn the fan off halfway through the opening credits because I don't want the surface noise to affect the listening pleasure of the viewers. And of course, I suffer in silence here in the heat. No air conditioning, no fan, just for you people to enjoy the broadcast. So, welcome in. This is episode number 241. This is Torch News Roundup number 280. We're getting close to the big 300th broadcast of the Torch News Roundup. And this is technically, I was looking at my analytics, which I honestly don't do all that often on YouTube, but we're at at video number 475. So I've made 475 videos in my illustrious career. And as I mentioned a couple of times this year, I believe this October is going to be my 10th year anniversary doing live videos and doing videos and broadcasts and all that good stuff. So we're going to try to do something special coming up this end of the year. I don't know what yet, though. I don't know. Should we finally do a video with a face reveal? I don't know. Maybe I should put that out as a poll and see if that's what everybody wants. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. First order of business, I got to make sure that we plug first, of course, the channel. We got to plug the channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I feel really badly that my subscriber count stalled entirely this year. Last year, we made the climb, that really difficult climb to 300, because 300 is an important number because I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but we have a mirror channel over on Odyssey. And that's very important to me, to make sure that we have a channel that, you know, in case something ever should go wrong on YouTube, because we're not quite as fortunate here as we are on Twitter to have some freedom of speech. They're a little bit less forthcoming here, they're a little more uptight. So make sure you follow me over on Odyssey, or if anything ever happens here, you'll know where to find me over on Odyssey, because that's where the broadcasts will inevitably go. I painstakingly downloaded I want to say 80% of my videos, my early day videos, over there on Odyssey as well. So you'll probably find them mixed in there. But I didn't have enough coin or credit or whatever the heck they call that in order to put the whole kit and caboodle up there until I get, I suppose, more views or something. But there are probably about 20 to 25 videos that are still in my personal collection that I can't share on Odyssey, but you can find them here if you look diligently enough in my back catalog. You'll still find them. But I wanted to make sure I saved them all and made sure that they were available for posterity. And that's a very big word. Okay, so first order of business, like we like to talk about here, is Bullets Bourbon issue number 11, Man of Our Times, is now in print. I have a select number of issues ready for purchase. I can autograph them for you, but they are not available yet on Indie Planet because they take a dog's age to put anything up there. That's another reason why I decided to go to Global Comics for digital downloads, because if you're interested in purchasing a digital download, you're going to find that on Global Comics most likely before you find it on Indie Planet because they take so long. The paper copies, though, the hard copies, the physical copies, whatever you want to call them, I do have a small amount of them here. And if you give me a message on Twitter, send me an email through my website, you'll be able to get a autographed copy. Just let me know. And usually for these early ones, I'll take care of the shipping. But at a certain point, the offer is limited. So again, we're at an impasse here in the completion of Casebook 12. I talk about this on Twitter, so if you haven't checked it out, check out my Twitter page where I give these updates more frequently than I do here on YouTube, unfortunately. But having some trouble getting my stylus to connect once again with my laptop. I got another stylus to see if it would work. This stylus isn't working. It's in the same style as the old stylus. It's still not working. Now I have got two options here. I can keep hunting down styluses to see if I can get one that matches my laptop, or I can take it down to Best Buy and see if the Geek Squad can help. Not a very promising outcome on either, I don't think, but that's why the production is stalled now on Casebook 12. But you can still get Casebook 11. We're going to do a video that's completely centering around talking about that, so I won't take up too much time because this is a Torch News Roundup. We're going to catch up on some of the news items of the day, but you can still check out my website, as I said, for uh, a email that you can find on my website at the message center. Also, you can find the upcoming tour schedule because, yes, I'm going back out there again. Now, I didn't go to any cons this year. I didn't want to go to any cons because, frankly, money is tight in the Biden regime. So I can't afford, I honestly can't afford $200 tables and not being able to sell enough to make back profit on the table cost. So what we're doing this year is I'm going to smaller venues. I did this during the pandemic. I did the flea market circuit where I was at the flea markets for most of the year. For 2 years, I did that. And it's varying degrees of success. So this could be a bust or this could be successful. I don't know, but I'm going to try out some of these smaller venues. We've got 3 of them lined up, and we're calling this year's tour circuit the Delusions of Grandeur Tour. And I think that's I think that's apropos maybe of indie comics entirely in its entirety, because I think everybody has delusions of grandeur when you're an indie comics creator, and I am no different. So we will try to get you that schedule up. It's not confirmed yet. You know, you send in your application and your check and whatever, and you hope that they're going to accept. They usually do because let's face it, these folks need money, and they're gonna usually accept you unless you're way late on this. The schedule looks like it's going to be mostly November, maybe tripping into December a little bit. So it's going to be later in the year. So that's why, we got plenty of time to talk about that. But just to put you wise to it, we're going to be doing a tour, a very limited tour. I got 3 dates lined up. Uh, Seeing how it goes, maybe if I feel it, we're going to do like 3 Saturdays in a row, late November, early December. So keep your eye out on that one. And again, we'll talk more about Man of Our Times in the future. Make sure you check it out. Link in the description below for my website. You can see a few preview pages I put up from the 2 issues in the arc. And we've got the 3rd issue in the arc, as I said, hopefully going to be coming along pretty soon. So let us move on now to our first topic here, and this is some sad news that we learned earlier this afternoon. Pee Wee Herman, I'll always think of him as Pee Wee Herman because he was so closely identified with this creation of his. Paul Rubens passed on today at the age of 70 of cancer. Now, he kept this a secret. And I'm always interested in that. I mean, I don't know what I would do in these cases because I think Chadwick Boseman was a similar case where he had cancer, terminal cancer for a long time, didn't tell anybody, and then passed on. And everybody was like really shocked because nobody really expected it. And nobody expects these things, quite frankly, to happen, but unfortunately it does. And I just want to take a moment to note his passing because I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people, of a certain age that grew up with Pee Wee Herman, and he was quite the character. I mean, he was very gifted. There was very few people I think that could pull off what he did. He basically took kind of like a Jerry Lewis idea of having a spastic 9-year old and acting that out as an adult, and what would that look like? And he did it to perfection, quite honestly. Now, as a child, I had seen Pee Wee's Big Adventure probably more times than I cared to admit. I mean, that is one of the classics of the 80s. It's a classic comedy. It is so hilarious. And that pretty much cemented his place in history, if nothing else. I mean, of course, there was always Pee Wee's Playhouse. I watched that off and on as a kid. It didn't afford me the same amount of enjoyment, probably, as Pee Wee's Big Adventure. I never saw Pee Wee's Big Top Adventure or whatever that was called. I probably should have tried to check that out at some point. And then there was sort of a radio silence for a long time because of some legal controversies that he was in. I'm not going to get into that. I mean, you could always look that up if you're interested and you don't know that story. But then he came back and did Pee Wee on Holiday, something to that effect. I forget the name of the movie. I saw the movie. I was eager to see it as sort of a long awaited sequel, sort of, to Pee Wee's Big Adventure. It wasn't at that level, but like most long awaited sequels, you're not going to quite get, these kind of things after like 20 years you try to go back to them, it's never going to quite feel the same. That's the thing I've tried to explain about a lot of these things where they came back and tried to carry on. But again, his place in history is cemented with Pee-wee's Big Adventure. That movie is hilarious from beginning to end. I dare say Tim Burton's best movie. It was his first movie besides, I guess, the short version of Frankenweenie that he did as a kid, but the first Hollywood big budget movie. I mean, you go over that film, and there's just so many hilarious things. Francis, that the guy that plays Francis, that actor, he was so hilarious as well. And just the feud between him and Pee Wee with the hilarious back and forth one liners and stuff that I know you are, but what am I became part of our lexicon as kids because of this. Pee Wee in the fun shop where he was getting all the goodies and stuff. His waking up and his house being basically a fun house, which is kind of what they did with Pee Wee's Playhouse. Oh, there was just so many great things. And then of course the he gets picked up as a hitchhiker. That was hilarious scene. You know, the Alamo, the biker bar. That's less than 5 minutes, and that is probably one of the funniest scenes in film history, the biker bar. And I don't think anybody, at least my age, is going to ever hear the song Tequila and not think of Pee Wee Herman in the extra large shoes, the tall shoes, the high heeled shoes, dancing on the bar to Tequila. So, uh, and of course the end, the end where he's in the movie as a bellboy and they voice changed him. That was hilarious as well. James Brolin and oh man, that was so funny. Yeah, so again, he brought a lot to the childhood of many, a lot of laughs. And I think he may have had his issues and problems. Again, not to get into them, but I mean, if you could make a child laugh, your life was worthwhile. It feels that way to me, at least. That he's meant a lot to people, especially that grew up with him. And to all intents and purposes, his brand of comedy with Pee Wee Herman will reach generations. Will always reach generations. I haven't sat through that movie in a long time. I have to go back and watch it again. I mean, I've seen it probably about 10 years ago, but I mean that really is one that should be revisited every so often. And at the ending, the chase through the whatever it was, Warner Brothers studio lot or something, in the pet shop, that was just hilarious. And of course, he had other roles as well. I mean, he didn't just do Pee Wee Herman. He was the father of the Penguin in Batman Returns. I think he reprised the role in Gotham, the TV series. He was in Mystery Men, which I don't think I ever seen. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He had a lot of character roles also after his time as Pee Wee. And it's a sad thing, particularly at this day and age, to die at 70. Cancer is terrible, and there should be a lot more effort put into looking into alternative care for cancer. I'll just leave it at that. But I mean, take care of your own health, people, because the medical profession is not going to do it for you. I've got let's see, the last message he left here for his fans. He put up on, I suppose it was Facebook, and he said, "Please accept my apology for not going public with what I've been facing the last 6 years. I've always felt a huge amount of love and respect from my friends, fans, and supporters. I have loved you all so much and enjoyed making art for you. Paul Rubens." So that's it. Sadly, Paul Rubens passed on today at the age of 70. It's so sad. He leaves a legacy, though, of comedy that, like I said, a whole generation grew up on. And hopefully, the next generation will be turned on to looking at some of the stuff he's done, the Pee Wee's Playhouse, Pee Wee's Big Adventure. And he left a large legacy of laughs for those of us who were able to enjoy his comedy. So, rest in peace, Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens, and we salute you. All right, next up, let's try to get into a topic here. It's a little more enjoyable, so we don't have to have such a somber episode today. We'll look at the Loki season 2 trailer. If you check this out, this just came out today, and I thought it looked very good. I mean, apparently they're sticking with Jonathan Majors, at least during this film, this series, because they didn't do anything to alter the fact that he's in it. So that leads me to believe that they're going to do the Ezra Miller thing that Warner Brothers did. They're just going to play it by ear. They're just going to continue on as they were going. Hope that audiences are not going to stay away because of whatever legal problems that apparently Majors has. Again, I didn't go too deeply into it, but apparently he's been vindicated. His lawyer put a lot of stuff out that was showing that the alleged victim was the one at fault. Still, others are saying that he had a lot of priors, people complaining that he was abusive on sets and in personal life. I don't know, again, any of this. To me, I separate the business from the personal. You know what I mean? I don't think that the guy should lose his job because of what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, unless of course it's some heinous crime or something. I mean, Well, let that play out and see how that goes before we continue on to, you know, make the guy lose his job. Now, I liked the first season of Loki. I thought that was the best MCU show that they'd done. I think I would still say it's the best MCU show done. WandaVision is the only one that I went back and watched a second time, so maybe I would put them as 1 and 2. Um, I probably will watch Loki again before season 2, but I enjoyed it the most. I thought there was a lot of excitement, a lot of twists and turns. They go along so good together. Um, Loki and Mobius, excuse me. We see in the trailer that Jonathan Kwan is back, short round, or Ki Hui Kwan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. That's why I usually just call him Jonathan Kwan, which is what he kind of went by for years. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to look forward to seeing that because I really want to see more of Jonathan because he didn't get his chance to reprise the role of Short Round. But if we could see him do something otherwise interesting, I'd be very happy. And he looks like he's got a pretty cool role here. Um, we see Sylvie is back and she's sort of off doing her own thing. I don't really see her doing too much in this trailer, and of course already the the talking heads of YouTube, as I call them, they're going to be throwing this trailer down, I'm sure, and saying, "Oh, it's Sylvie's show again," and she's not really that remarkable in the trailer. I don't think she took over too much from the first season, to be honest with you. So again, we could go into a whole diatribe over that. I mean, I was kind of wondering if I should do a separate video chronicling my thoughts on Secret Invasion. But it's the same thing where basically you take any chink in the armor and they will just go for blood. These YouTube pundits. I mean, we'll save Secret Invasion for another time. But I mean, basically taking a look at like this is something else that went on that I was going to talk about during my convalescence. But the Barbie movie came out, and Ethan Van Sciver actually gave it a good review. And this, of course, sent out shockwaves of consternation to YouTube pundits everywhere because you see, Ethan is smart. He's clever, he's savvy. He knows that if he were to get into the game the way they are, the Doomcocks and the Nerdrotics and heel versus babyface or whoever else is out there. He knows he'd have to play that game. That's the reason why he did this boycott of Disney because he knows if he watches, let's say he watches Dial of Destiny, which is something he said he wanted to do. He would probably have an honest opinion. He would give a nuanced interpretation of what he saw. And his review would probably come off as positive. Now, I'm not saying necessarily he would like in D4 or 5 or whatever. But the fact is, when you do that, you can't be in that clique and still speak your mind. Otherwise, the hive mind is going to come after you and call you crazy. And you could tell he was already sick of having to defend Barbie from what was his own subjective opinion. But you see, you're not allowed to have a subjective opinion on these things. And that's the reason why I keep that fandom menace stuff at arm's length because too many of these guys, they just are doing it for clicks. They're doing it for getting attention. They're doing it because that's what their audience wants to hear. And I think Ethan even said this, basically, people want to hear something being bashed. You want to hear something get torn apart. Nobody really wants to hear, "Oh, I love this movie." And I even am guilty of this myself. I mean, I haven't really done reviews for too many things that I loved because I haven't sat there and done a retrospective on Return of the Jedi, my favorite movie of all time. Why? Because you're just going to hear me gush about how great it is. It's not as much fun to write and record and listen to a video like that as it is to hear somebody savage The Last Jedi because it is an abysmal production and it was a horrible project that basically was a complete disaster from beginning to end. People are going to want to hear that get torn a new one more than somebody gushing over what was a good project that was done well. So I can understand. But again, this is kind of like gone into overkill at this point. The anti SJW movement has become its own clique where everything now has to fall in line, and you want to be friends with them, you're going to have to pander to them. You can't just keep making your own opinions known. And as I've always said, art is subjective. There really is no right and wrong with art. Did it hit you the right way? Then you liked it, then it was a successful project. If it didn't hit you the right way and you didn't like it, it wasn't a successful project. The only time these things can converge and become abysmal projects is stuff like The Last Jedi, where they have to live up to what the creator intended. And when people come in and just completely reverse the course and do something completely different with it that is not expected, that's the problem. But when you're doing something like Loki or I don't know, Barbie or whatever, you have to judge that on its own merits and what it's trying to say and what it's trying to do. So again, another minor rant here, but anyway, to suffice to say, I'm sure all the talking heads are going to say this is terrible, just like they said Secret Invasion was terrible, which I thought Secret Invasion was pretty good. The MCU hasn't really created a must-see show yet, but they have done, you know, they haven't been batting too well lately. I mean, I liked Moon Knight. I thought Moon Knight was very good, but of course, She-Hulk was lousy. I noped out of Ms. Marvel. I mean, it could have been good. I don't know, but I didn't feel like I needed to see that. Of course, with the Marvels coming up, maybe it will help, you know. But the thing is, with the MCU shows, you really don't need to see them in order to watch the movies, because I think watching uh, the Multiverse of Madness, I don't think you really needed to see WandaVision. It kind of feels like if you missed that, they didn't really play to any of those things that were in the show. So let me think. Let me know what you think about the Loki season 2 trailer. Did you think it was a good trailer? Do you think that this is going to be a must-see show, or do you think this is another one that's going to be probably not hinted upon in the Secret Wars movie or wherever this? No, what is this going to lead into? Kang Dynasty? I don't know if you're going to need to see this or not. Do you think that Thor should finally cross paths with Loki again? Or are you all Thored out? Do you think that Thor and Loki has sort of been played out? I think if they had the right project, they would work together again well. I think that they had kind of played it out by Ragnarok. As much as I liked Ragnarok, I think that was the weakest part of it, is that they kind of played out this whole, does he love his brother? Does he not love his brother? Does he trust Loki? Does he not trust Loki? It's kind of like you have to bring a new aspect on that, I think. And I don't think they did in Ragnarok. I think it was just more of the same, which is, kind of where we left him in, what was it? The Dark World? Was that the last one they did before that? Yeah. Well, let me know what you think. All right, some more news that came out here recently. We've got films have been affected by the SAG strike or whatever. There's the writer strike, there's the actor strike. I guess the actors are striking because they want their likenesses preserved. The writers are striking because they want a raise, I guess. I really don't pay attention to it. I'm kind of on the fence on this because I know there's a lot of people saying, well, let them strike because they're not really writing up to snuff. I mean, there really has been a decline in good films lately and good shows lately, and let them wither on the vine and get new people in. And then there's the other half that are like, well, after a while, we're not going to have any entertainment, and maybe you think that's a good thing, but I mean, I kind of want to see these movies, starting with Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel. This is Ghostbusters 4, I guess, if you want to be technical. And it's getting pushed back, unfortunately. I had a feeling we weren't going to get it in December as it was originally announced. But along with another slate of films being pushed back, as well as Craven the Hunter, which had been set for October 6th, which that trailer came out. We talked about that, I think, last time. Craven is now being moved to August 30th, 2024. What are they planning on doing with that movie and all that time is what I want to know. Madam Web is actually moving up and will be 2 days earlier on February 14th, Valentine's Day. So that's going to be interesting. And Venom 3 finally has a release date, July 12th of next year. So about a year from now, we'll have seen Venom 3, what is promising to be probably the final film in the Venom trilogy. What are they going to do? I don't know. I mean, I haven't really kept up with any behind the scenes news of the creation of that film, but apparently is going to be more symbiote mayhem. I think it was suggested that a couple of symbiotes who are not Carnage are going to take their place in the film. Also, Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel is shifted from December to March 29th, 2024, presumably due to the cast being needed during post-production for ADR and possible reshoots. And that's, of course, delayed because of the strike. So, yeah, sadly, some of these films are going to be pushed back. I guess, I mean, I guess I'm probably going to be interested in seeing Madam Web. I don't know how that's going to go. It's got, um, allegedly, it's going to have Spider Woman. I think the Jennifer Carpenter version of Spider Woman. So that might be worth watching, I guess. Madam Web, of course, they're going a lot younger with Dakota Johnson as her. So that they've also got the who's that other babe? I guess that's going to be in it. That's playing Spider Woman. She's sort of the new it girl, and I can't believe her name is blanking on me right now. But so that might be interesting. A Craven, like I said, I'm not really interested in a really gory, violent, brutal Craven film. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that. Venom 3 will be out before Craven. Now that leads to some interesting speculation. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that because I think what Sony really wants to do is tie this all into a Sinister Six movie and try to get Spider-Man in on it. Now, what Spider-Man that'll be, who knows? But that's kind of what they want to do. Also, there's been a lot of rumors. Have you heard this? That Thomas Hayden Church has been talking out of turn a little bit lately. He's been saying that they're talking about a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi discussing it. Now, nothing could make me happier than a Spider-Man 4. That's really what I want to see. I mean, I think they pretty much crapped up the MCU version of Spider-Man. I like Tom Holland, but that's a terrible version of Spider-Man. I've never been a fan of the Andrew Garfield version of Spider-Man. I mean, the way he was used in, you know, No Way Home was good. I like him, but I don't think that that's a very good franchise. I don't think that it's necessary to go back to, unless of course you're doing another Spider-Verse type film. But there really is, a future for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man if they will just get Raimi back on board to put together what he wanted for Spider-Man 4. And I'd love to see that, but I don't know that that's really. I mean, I know that I think Raimi said that if the opportunity presented itself, he'd be happy to go back to that. But I mean, that's far from being a done deal. We have to see, and I don't know why Sony wouldn't do that. That's like printing money. How many people were excited to see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire back? You give Andrew Garfield his own Spider-Man 3 and you give Tobey his own Spider-Man 4. How could you not prosper from that? That is like printing money. They should be doing it. I don't know why they don't. All right, so if we find any more information out on that front, I'll let you know. But as far as I know now, that's only a rumor and speculation. All right, and so our final story for the day, we're going to talk about the Spider-Man, Superman Legacy casting. Now, this went on a few weeks ago, and we found out that, let's see, for some reason I'm having problems with that. There we go. Let's see. Nathan Fillion was cast as Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern. Now, I know a lot of people wanted to see him as Hal Jordan, and I think he'd be great as Hal Jordan. The problem is they're starting over, they're rebooting, they're casting young. And as I said, I don't think what you do is you go from a, 30-year-old Superman to a 50-year-old Hal Jordan. Just like we went with a 30-year-old Superman with a 48-year-old Batman. I mean, you got to start all these guys off on the same foot. I don't think you start with certain legacy characters being far older than others. That's why I'm kind of concerned about Batman Brave and the Bold with them casting an older Batman that has already Nightwing, two or three different Robins, and Batgirl. I want to start with Batman and Robin, Dick Grayson. And then you move up slowly but surely and let the Bat family grow. Let them grow up. Let Dick Grayson grow from being Robin to Nightwing and introduce Jason and then show what happens with him. Do all this stuff, but don't rush into it the way that we did with the Snyderverse. That was partly why the Snyderverse failed because, well, obviously because Zack Snyder didn't know what he was doing, but that was crazy trying to put a established Batman who already lost a Robin, who I think apparently it was supposed to be Dick Grayson who was killed, the same as Jimmy Olsen was killed. I mean, that was such a mess. It was really a disaster. And so I think this is a smart move. Guy Gardner, you can probably get away with making him older. Um, Again, it's going to depend how they play it. Also joining the cast, Isabella Merkid, if that's how her name is pronounced, I'm not sure, as Hawkgirl. Now, she's very pretty. I think that if they give her the red hair, I think that's good casting right there. And again, I apologize if I'm butchering this name. Edai Gathke, who will play Mr. Terrific. Now, of course, he is famous for being Darwin in First Class. And I was joking on the Twitter saying that, watch, he's going to play another D-list hero who gets killed unceremoniously, and then people will feign righteous indignation and say, oh, they killed the black guy and whatever, like they do with First Class. I've never understood the outrage about his death. I mean, maybe it's because I don't really know the character in the comics, and maybe because his character seemed very lame to me, the little we've seen of him in that movie. But I don't really know. I don't really understand why that was touching a nerve for so many people that he was killed, because there was only two options. You weren't going to kill any of the main X-Men that were, even in that movie, they were mostly B-list. I mean, Beast was the only A-list, I suppose. But I mean, you weren't going to kill off um, Havoc. You weren't going to kill off Banshee. So I mean, that left Angel Hernandez and Darwin. One was going to be the turncoat, one was going to be killed. And, to go down as sort of a martyr that, he went out for his friends. And I think that was the right choice. They made Angel the villain, the turncoat, and they made Darwin the sacrificial victim. Hey, You don't have to like it, but I think it made sense. I don't know why you always find people haranguing and wringing their hands about that on Twitter, and I still don't understand it. Anyway, looks like good casting to me. We also got another member join the cast not too long after this. Now, this is spectacular casting. We've got let me take a sip of water if you don't mind. I'm still not well yet, so you're gonna have to give me a little break once in a while for a water break. Anthony Carrigan playing Metamorpho. I mean, this is perfect casting. The guy doesn't even need any makeup. Now he's no stranger to being a DC. He played Victor Zsasz on Gotham, and who else did he play on the CW Arrowverse? He was a villain there too. I can't remember. Anyway, Metamorpho, not a villain, but part of the DCU. And his story is that he can stretch and had all kinds of crazy things happen to him with a. I think he was a. Was he? Well, let me read the copy. That'll probably help. Archaeologist turned hero Rex Mason. Hmm. All right, so I guess he was an archaeologist. I thought he was a scientist or something. But the thing about Metamorpho that's so good, I know he's got stretching powers. I remember that. But they've never changed his look in all the reboots and re-continuity shifts or whatever in the comics. He's always looked like this. I've always found him really interesting. He's got a half orange shirt, half purple scaly shirt. His feet look completely different from each other. His face looks like a mummy or something. He was in Batman and the Outsiders. He joined that group, and that's what I mostly remember him from as a kid, watching Batman or reading Batman and the Outsiders. And he was sort of like the older member of the team because it was mostly about like juvenile heroes, kids that kind of were brought in that needed a guiding hand. And I think this is shaping up to be an interesting picture. And I think, to his credit, James Gunn is going for a cast that generally looks like the characters they're playing. Need I remind you, the Superman and Lois actors, they look spot on. And Anthony Carrigan here, he looks spot on. Most of these other actors here look spot on. I mean, I guess I know what they were going for with the Hawk Girl. They're going to try to say she looks sort of mildly ethnic. You know, they try to do that with Hawkman and Hawkgirl for some reason. I don't know why. I know why, because they try to say, well, they're Egyptian and they should look a certain way, which I guess means black or biracial or something. I don't know why they don't. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But like I said, I think the casting looks good. I mean, if you give her red hair, she's a beautiful actress. She'll do fine. And like I said, this guy really doesn't even need any makeup, Anthony Corrigan. Um, Nathan Fillion, I love to see him with the weird haircut, the Buster Brown haircut that Guy Gardner has, and it looks like a good cast. Now people are starting to complain because the Snyderites, the Snyder bronies, they're like, well, they complain that you were trying to put too much in Justice League and Batman v Superman because we had so many heroes and we're not supposed to do that, so don't do that here. There's a difference. You really need to establish Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern in their own films. That's kind of a given before you do the team up. What we have here is basically D-listers, with the possible exception of maybe Hawkgirl. I think because of her being in the Justice League animated series, people know about her more. Let's call her I don't even want to call her a B-lister. I would say a C-lister, because I don't think anybody knows her beyond what she brought to the team of that. Nobody really knows what the Hawkman mythology is. Even me, who has done my time in DC Comics, I can't even tell you really the full story there. It's very convoluted. So again, were they from Thanagar? Were they aliens? Were they supposed to be reincarnated figures from Egypt that came back in present day? I don't know how it's being spinned here. So again, you've got some wiggle room there to play with these characters. These are not going to overshadow Superman. And this is probably only going to be cameos. I mean, I don't think they're going to save the day. Let's put it that way. They're probably going to have some kind of world building prospect on Superman, but nothing that really takes the spotlight away from him. So again, I am not a huge fan of James Gunn. I am not a huge fan of the Guardians pictures. I got to see the third one. I haven't seen it yet because it's not on streaming yet, which I think it's going to happen sometime next month. I'm not sure, but I'm not a big fan of his. But he looks like he's casting this the right way. He's using actors that look the part. And he's not trying to throw in everything but the kitchen sink. He's trying to use characters that he knows are malleable and that will just take up a few seconds screen time, and you don't need to tell a whole movie length story to be initiated into their character. So I think he's doing the right thing here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about Superman Legacy? Are you excited about James Gunn rebooting this franchise? Are you happy with what you've seen in the casting and what looks like it's going to be happening here? Let me know in the comments below. All right, so I think I am going to call it a day here. As you might have already surmised, I've already half emptied my water bottle to try to stay hydrated and not start coughing and so forth. So let's quit while I'm ahead, I suppose. But I am going to try to do some more videos. I'm going to probably try to do a Secret Invasion review. I was honestly just going to do it during this show for the last 10 minutes. So it's all I need, really. But it's not going to be a long review. But yeah, I think I'll just do that and make it its own video because that'll make it, you got to make sure that you got more content coming out. I can't just throw everything in one video and, then take another 4 weeks off. So that'll about do it. That wraps it up here for us. Let me know what you think about any of the subjects we talked about here today. And like I said, I've got some more stuff to talk about. We're going to do a video that's going to talk more detail about the Bullets Bourbon issue, Man of Our Times. And looking forward to that. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications like they like to tell you in the big time leagues. Also, make sure you check out the link in the description below for all your Bullets Bourbon needs. You can check out the issues that were being put out. You can check out the free preview page. You can buy any of the issues. You can keep up with the tour dates for the Delusions of Grandeur tour. You can check us out on Global Comics. I'm hoping that'll catch on. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be catching on as fast as I had hoped. But if you belong to Global Comics, you can, in fact, read the issues there. You can also purchase them for digital download. Check out Indie Planet, where you can buy the hard copies, which would make me very happy because I don't like digital as much as I like the hard copies. I'd love to see the comics in people's hands, but it's a digital age, so I'm going to try to make it available for everyone. Also, we got a new issue coming out the 7th of August. It will be the Death of Bullets Bourbon issue, so if you haven't checked that out, and again, you prefer to check it out on digital, you'll find that on Global Comics. I think you can find that on Indie Planet as well. I think they already put that one up. But for the rest of the year, yeah, up until I think December, we're going to have a new issue out, which is very exciting for me. A new issue out every month. So it feels like a monthly comic. Bullets Bourbon coming out every month at you. And most of them are already up, so go and check it out. Don't delay. And so, until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.